Hey there, crafty friends, it's Tina the Scrappin' Rabbit. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel today. In this video, we are going to be creating a winter-themed card featuring these adorable cardinal dies from the Scrappy Tails Crafts shop. So let's go ahead and get started. This is the layering Cardinals die that we're going to be using. If you've watched my previous video, you can see me putting these birds together. I went ahead and used the die cuts that I had already created and glued together for my project today. Look at how cute these are. I did add a little marker for the eye, and they are just ready to go. The next die set we are going to be using is the Assorted Christmas Leaves die. I love this set. This is fantastic. There are so many different leaves. These are the branches that I cut out for the card today. Wasn't exactly sure how many that I was going to need, but I did want to use the little layered pine cones on my card because those are so cute. There's two different sizes. There's a backing piece and a top layering piece that goes over the little pine cones to give it a little dimension, and you can use two different color cardstocks. And I also cut out a tiny branch. I wasn't sure if I was going to use it. I didn't end up using it on my card, but that is what it looks like. So you can see, and there's many more dies in this set. Ink blending is one of my favorite go-tos when it comes to card backgrounds, and so I went ahead and pulled out my favorite distressed oxides. I decided to do a blue background. I was inspired in the card aisle as I was standing in line for the post office just last week, and I saw some really pretty blue backgrounds, so I tried to recreate what I saw on some of those store cards in the Hallmark aisle. This faded blue jeans just kind of gives it that darker edge around the background. This panel of Bristol Smooth cardstock is about 4.5 by 5 3/4, so bigger than an A2 size. So I am going to be cutting down this panel. I'm blending it out with the Salty Ocean. I love the way that these two colors blend. And then to go into a little bit of more of that teal and green, I have the Broken China. This is really a pretty look. I love the two tones of the blues for this background, and I'm just softly layering it. The next color is the Salvaged Patina, and then the lightest blue that I have there is the Tumbled Glass, which kind of ties in the blues from the darker colors around the edge. So I'm just softly blending these, and I'm going to go in there and add a second layer just to smooth out the blend and to give that extra crisp edge there. And I was trying to figure out how I was going to use the cardinals. Initially, when I was designing the card, I was thinking of only using one of the birds, but I did create several of them for my stash, and I did want to use them, and I felt like in the end, the two birds together really did cover the card perfectly. And so there is my little bit of sky peeking through, and then I have the branches that I'm going to put over those white areas. To create a winter sky, I'm adding some water to the distress oxides and then blotting it up with a paper towel. Then I'm going to grab some of my acrylic paint from my stash that I've had for years. I think I spent $1 for this bottle, maybe at Walmart or Target. I'm just going to thin it out with some water and mix it around with my brush. You don't want it too watery, but then you don't want it too thick. Sometimes I tend to go a little bit too thick and I get a little bit of stringiness in the background, but it's okay. It's a handmade card, and so it doesn't have to be perfect, but I really love the way that that looks for the snow. I'm also going to grab some of my Glimmer Mist because that, in addition to the acrylic paint, really adds glowy drops in the background, and I love the way that that looks, and it does give it some shimmer as well. So I went ahead and grabbed the branches that I cut out, and I'm going to add some of the white drops to get a little bit of a snow effect on these branches, and that is going to help add a little bit more detail to the finished card. Taking the time to do this step, it really doesn't take too long. You just have to make sure you let it dry. So now that I have my background ready to go, I'm going to grab a rectangle die and run that through my die cutting machine, so again I can have that little trim around my A2 size card base. I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment. This sentiment is from the hummingbird set called Mama Birds. in the Scrappy Tails shop, and it's perfect because I'm not doing holiday cards, but these are still winter themed, and I decided to use these as some of my thank you cards to send out after the holidays. This one in particular, the sentiment I really like because it says thank you for all you do. I have some people in mind specifically for these cards, so this works out perfect. Instead of doing black ink, I'm using Versamark clear ink, and I'm going to be using silver embossing powder. I felt like the silver with the blue really did it went together really well, and I've been really fond of the foiling. And before I got into the foiling, I've always embossed my sentiments, and so I went ahead and looked through. I have so many colored embossing powders, and this silver I think really added that perfect wintry touch to go with my winter themed card. It also coordinates well with those glimmer mist drops in the background, and I just love the way an embossed sentiment looks. It's just so pretty. It really adds a little bit of that professional look to your cards as well. So now that I have my layer together, I'm going to go ahead and glue down the pieces. I'm going to grab my liquid glue, and as you can see, I'm just trying to figure out where everything is going to go. And so I decided on having the branches kind of at an angle from each other, and they're going to hang a little bit over the edges, and that's okay because I'm just going to trim them down with my scissors. I am going to use drops of the liquid glue to get those adhered, and that comes together really quickly when you use a fine tip on your glue bottle. I'm using the Barely Art glue, which works perfectly over an ink blended background. So getting those branches down, and then I'm just going to grab my scissors and snip off those edges. This is best to do before you adhere it to your card, especially since this is a little bit smaller than the A2 size card base. So I'm deciding that I'm going to just directly glue these down onto the branches. I'm going to be mailing these cards, and so I'm trying to get them to be as flat as possible. I've run into some trouble where the mail sometimes you get it back if they feel like it's too thick. And so I had run out of my butterfly stamps, but I did just pick some more of those up at the post office, and those butterfly stamps tell the mail carriers to not run it through the machine, and it gets hand stamped so they don't put it through and bend your card. For a finishing touch, I'm going to add some of these little crystal drops from Spellbinders. These are my favorite sparkly gems to add to my cards, especially for the winter cards, and I'm just randomly placing them around, and it just gives that little bit of sparkle at the end. And this is a nice neutral card. It could go to literally anybody with that nice message and those beautiful birds, which I love, add the perfect touch. So that completes the card. As always, I usually like to create more than one, and so I did do one that was kind of like almost a mirror image of the first one, so just a little bit of a variety there. So these are my two cards. I hope you liked them. I hope you enjoyed my video. I hope you all are having a wonderful December and have lots of fun plans ahead with your friends and family. I wish you all a very, very happy holiday. And again, thank you so much for stopping by and watching my video. Have a great day, and until next time, happy crafting, everyone. Bye for now.